Hey, welcome to the Freedom Fries channel. I'm James Fries. That's why the channel is called Freedom Fries. Because I'd also Army, you know, not anymore. It's not a thing. We have two drift events this weekend. We have KC Drift on Saturday and Import Faceoff on Sunday. Skinny Boys are coming out on Sunday, and those are my tandem partners. So that's definitely what I'm going to be doing the most driving. So Saturday is probably just going to be drinking. But there's always a little bit of maintenance before every drift event, so I'm going to do some oil change and then deal with this sick wrap and finish the car off. I'm also going to switch out the exhaust because drifting is really just a rolling car show, and I want something that looks a little bit better. So I have the ISR blast pipes that I'm going to put on. I don't think they're going to sound as good, but they're going to look better, and that's cool to me. I also have the FDF Fab Diff Brace that I'm going to put on, which has a jacking point on it, which is cool, except I think maybe that's just something else that I'm going to catch a cone on. So whatever. And it also kind of worries me because it's going to stiffen up that whole subframe and diff and everything. And I feel like the rubber bushings that are in the subframe right now are what's preventing my diff from blowing up, because you never trust welded diffs, or at least I don't. They could be good. I don't know. It's held up. But this is definitely the last event for the season, which is great because the car needs a ton of maintenance. And by a ton of maintenance, I mean it needs new valve covers because it's leaking oil into one of these spark plug tubes. So, got to get to that. And that means I should probably just do an engine swap. But let's go ahead and get this car jacked up in the air and get started. First things first, we're going to take off the exhaust and we're going to look at the FDF Fab Diff Brace and put that on. And then we'll go ahead and look at the ISR exhaust before we toss that on. I'm also going to be doing some trans fluid change because it hasn't been changed this whole season. Don't judge me, shut up. And an oil change. Spark plugs too, because oil, spark tube, not cool. So the exhaust is easy. One of these bad boys, 14, old wobbly boy, and I think it's 12. I've taken this off enough that it should come off super easy. So let's get started. Pretty interesting to see what happens to stainless steel after you've polished it and get it nice and hot. It's this cool bronze color. I feel like I should have done that to the canisters and everything. It's actually a pretty cool color. The video where I install this, you can see how I polish it to do that. That's actually pretty neat. But this exhaust, you know, are you actually removing an exhaust if you don't accidentally forget one hanger? So that's why that took so long. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the FDF Fab Diff Brace. I just got this a long time ago. I got this in with the 370Z axles and hubs that I'm going to eventually replace on this car. Eventually my axles are going to snap. So I figured beefy is always better. Beefier is always better. Ooh, got another sticker to add to my toolbox. Got some lockout. I don't need that because I've already got them. This replaces your toe arm bolts, I believe, with lockouts. These are your spacers that are going to bolt to the diff, I believe, and this old bad boy herself. It doesn't look like it's going to hang too much lower. I think I'm going to go ahead and clean up the diff a little bit, just that whole subframe area, just so it looks pretty since I'm going to be showing it off and stuff. So I'll do that real quick. Okay, so it's worth noting that even though I have my own lockout bolts, I think these are actually longer, which is necessary because I only had like, yeah, they're significantly longer. I only had like 3 threads of engagement when I tried to use the SPL lockout bolts. So I guess that's something I have for my spare Z now. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch that out. Fortunately, this means that I also will have no idea. Another upgraded part that I just get to get rid of. You don't know what you don't know. You know, there's a spacer that's going to go through the top here and bolt to the back of that, and then you're going to replace 2 of your diff bolts with these spacers and bolts here. Oh, is it cut so it stay together? This shit's cute. Oh, these boys know what they're doing.
Seems like a mistake, like I could probably fall into the subframe if you mess up the first try, so we're naturally going to do that. Ooh, I definitely didn't use too much RTV. Oh, it goes on the inside? That makes sense. I'm an idiot. Okay, I'm gonna fix this. You don't need to see it. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at this exhaust. Pick this up from my boy Lee. I'm pretty much the black pipe crew now. Hamster. So I'm going from basically 3 muffling devices to 1. It's going to be a little bit louder. Comes with gasket. That's cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and secure this thing open. All that gym. Now that's pretty. A little bit of scratches, but I'm going to do worse than that my first drift event. So it's pretty okay for me. Let's go and start getting this thing on. Fuck, it's not. Okay, so I did finish that exhaust install and it sounds pretty okay. Last night was a complete mess. When I did the exhaust clip, I was able to look at how poorly I wrapped the vinyl underneath the rear bumper. So I'm gonna splice and cut that and fix that because it is actually so bad that I'm not comfortable with it. And that's saying a lot. So I'm gonna fix that. I also started to do the spark plugs on the VQ and saw just how much oil is being leaked into the spark plug tube, and it's quite a lot. So, I hate to even say it, I'm going to clean out that as much as possible and use RTV to try to do a band-aid, simply because this is a 2-day event and I don't want it misfiring. The other thing I kind of have to figure out is the exhaust has a strange smell to it, and it's not the new exhaust. The old one was having it as well. It's messing up my sinuses. It doesn't smell like normal exhaust. It's not sweet like coolant. However, when I drain the oil, I'm going to drain it into a bucket so I can make sure that there's no coolant in there. I'm hoping, I mean, this isn't ideal, but I'm hoping that what it is simply just Bondo dust and stuff that's maybe in the air filter and just being put into the induction system from back when I did a bunch of stuff onto the car. So I'm going to try and troubleshoot all of that. Right now I'm going to start with RTVing the valve cover gasket and the spark plug. I'm sorry if I've shamed any of you. Alright, actually first I'm going to eat that donut. And actually my greatest mistake of all last night was trying to polish this headlight. I was wet sanding it with the kits that you can buy anywhere and let it dry up. The sandpaper started grinding in and throwing gunk into the headlight. So I grabbed too low of a grit, and so I kind of scuffed up and ruined this headlight. So I need to fix that first off. And then yeah, then we'll deal with the spark plug tube. So I don't know. I'll show you what it looks like, and then I'll just try to fix it or make it worse. Well, I guess we'll see. And that was actually a ton of work because I had to hand sand most of it from like a 400 up. Having an orbital would have been sweet, but I left that at my other shop and I wasn't going to waste the time to go and drive over there. Although, thinking back, I think maybe it would have been faster. So, air orbital would have been cool. But it's much clearer now. And I'm just going to grind a little bit of the headlight to move it over a bit because it was hit there. So the headlight's a little pushed in, and so when I put the eyelids on, the hood kind of impacts it. So I'm going to try to push the headlight over just a tiny bit so that the eyelid fits just perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'm going to plastidip the passenger mirror and then get to cutting and splicing in vinyl on the bottom of the bumper so that it looks better. Then I'll drain the oil and do the spark plug, RTV the tube. All right, let's get to that.
So if you're wondering why I'm plasti dipping this instead of wrapping it in the black that I have for the hood, it's not because I ran out. It's simply because it's easier. And with tandems and everything like that, it throws so many rock chips up that it would just destroy the vinyl anyway. So it's much easier just to plasti dip it, and then you can peel it and re-plasti dip it. It's way cheaper, takes way less time. I tried to wrap the mirror, and really the easiest way to do it without getting wrinkles would have to been literally 4 pieces, and that's just so much attention to detail that it requires in order to do the knifeless tape that I would have been frustrated if any silver had shown. So I'm just gonna tape it up and plasti dip it. Typically you don't want to use a plastic bag as a background for paint because it'll drip or bounce off and spray, but plasti dip doesn't really do that as much, and I'm not doing a ton of paint, so I don't have to worry about it really running or anything like that. Although I think it ran on the other side, but that's neither here nor there. But I'm gonna go ahead and take this up and then we'll get to spraying. Okay, so that came out pretty okay. I redid the rear bumper, and so now we're gonna do an exhaust clip. I still messed up the rear bumper. I'm gonna make a sticker to hide that though.